What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster here on this beautiful Thursday, May 19th, 2022 date, about 6:25 p.m. California time here along the West Coast. Recent earthquake activity on the globe shows a 1.8 earthquake way over here. Seen a little cluster of quakes around the Mediterranean Sea today and throughout the Greece area. Let's go ahead and check out the latest earthquake movement here. On the USGS map here, we're going to start off here along the west coast. Low activity ramping up, mostly inland into Nevada. Low activity up here around the Bay Area as well. Within the last hour, a 1.6 near Diablo in the Bay Area. About 19 kilometers for that earthquake for the depth. It's a pretty deep earthquake for this region. Some earthquake activity up here around the Clear Lake volcanic field. And the rest of Northern California, we've got one little earthquake up here. Into the Cascadia subduction zone. Now I know Cascadia megathrust sits over here, right? Well, that is associated with the subduction zone with this depth down here, 39.1 kilometers for a 2.0 underneath the community of Klamath, California, way down there into the subduction zone of the Cascadia. Looking at the central part of California, a little bit of activity up and down the San Andreas Fault here. Around the creeping section of the San Andreas, and some movement outside of the Antelope Valley area. Things kind of tapering off around Long Valley and the Ridgecrest area. Seeing a little heightened activity today, along with some movement out here northwest of Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, this area has been swarming quite nicely over the last few weeks or so. It is happening mostly around the Rock Valley Fault Zone and a couple other unnamed faults here around this mountain range, Mercury Ridge. A whole lot of dynamics taking place here. It's actually a pretty important fault system out here when it deals with plate tectonics. You can see this line of activity stretching up here from that region all up into the state of Utah. There's some pretty significant importance to that. I want to show you guys real quick the area here. This is, like I said, right off the Rock Valley Fault System. I want to show you guys the map here of earthquake activity within this vicinity since about 1900. I pulled up about 3.0 and above. If you guys are wondering, if you're familiar with this area and kind of wondered or remember what was going on in this area and these little squares, right? You kind of think they're quarry blasts, right? No. Those are nuclear explosions. 1992 time frame, it looks like, 1990. And it goes back, of course, prior to that. But there was a significant amount of nuclear tests out here in the desert in this area. Just within this area, 166 recorded nuclear explosions back in the the various dates throughout the region there. Now the Rock Valley Fault System, say where this earthquake activity is kind of taking place here. Nuclear activity kind of struck up here just a little bit. But the Rock Valley Fault System down here in this area, quite a bit of earthquake activity as well. But also, there's nuclear explosions that did happen down here as well, just to the east of our main little cluster. I mean, Nevada's definitely... it's been through, it's taken a beating, let me tell you, when it comes to the tests and whatnot out here. But far as earthquake activity, they do get some big ones out here. There was a 5.2 or 5.8 right off the Rock Valley Fault Zone there, outside of Beatty, Nevada, back in 1992. This one struck at about 8.8 kilometers, and some other earthquakes in there as well. A bunch of threes, and of course some other ones. See here, I don't think there was anything bigger aside from that 5.8 back in 1992 within this region. So it is pretty seismically active out here. A lot of stress here from the west. A lot of a lot of mixing, or not a lot of mixing, but a lot of plate tectonic stress here with the North American plate and the Pacific plate here to the west. It does kind of grind the gears here inland into the Great Basin area and down here into Nevada. So the swarms are not, I don't think they're anything really to worry about at the moment. They could point to something bigger. Looking specifically at these earthquake swarms, this one's got a pretty significant cluster of quakes here. And I believe most of them are, well, there's a couple up there. But this is 1 day, all magnitudes. Let me see here. 7 days, 2.5. Most of them definitely under the 2.5 threshold. But I do want to go back the last 30 days, see if we can show a little bit more number. It doesn't look like it. But in months past, we've seen this area kind of light up in little areas. A little swarm here, a little swarm there. Here a swarm, there a swarm. Everywhere a swarm, right? It's definitely pretty active in terms of buildup here. So that all could possibly be pointing towards something a little bit larger happening within this vicinity. 1992, the last, somewhat larger earthquake here outside of the Beatty, Nevada area around the Rock Valley Fault system. Yeah, definitely some stress built up since then. But as you can see, we do get these little swarms and activity around this region of Nevada. And up north where all that nuclear activity took place, man, I don't know. It's crazy. Crazy to think about all that. There's no roads that really go through there. I think one day I'd love to check out that area out there in Nevada. But then again, I don't even know if it's accessible or not. But anyway, folks, yeah, a little bit of swarming activity out there. Someone noted that. And we try to cover this activity here. Kind of, maybe give a little bit of historical background on that activity if we can find it. And about the only information I can find on this is, a lot of nuclear explosions and the Rock Valley Fault earthquake activity there in the catalog. There's a huge PDF that someone posted about the Rock Valley Fault system significance. And it's a 100-page report, and I'm not even going to pull that up. But if you're kind of curious about this area, definitely check out the Rock Valley Fault Zone on a Google search, and it's pretty informative. But man, it's going to take you it'll probably take you a little while to read. Pretty lengthy report, but there is no doubt some major significance here when it comes up to the plate dynamics in this region and the fault systems here. Kind of got to bear with me a little bit. I still have a somewhat of an odd cold. I've never been so sick in my life, far as like the last year and a half. Prior to that, I never got sick, ever. I would never have a cold, never have a cough, never have runny nose, ever. Just in the last year and a half, it's just been nonstop, and it's just odd. All right, aside from that, Nevada activity, some movement here in Southern California, kind of stretching off here at the coast. Had almost a three-pointer out there in the Pacific Ocean on a couple unnamed fault systems out there. This one about 8.4 kilometers deep into the mountain ranges out. Well, I shouldn't say mountain ranges, but the undersea seamounts. 2.9, well off the coast of San Diego. But there's some, a lot of people. I don't know, man. I think there's definitely some significance here in these little fault systems. I remember taking off from the Los Angeles airport out here a couple years back on my way to Texas to do some storm chasing, and it's just pretty much flat land from the airport out to the beach. And I'm thinking in my head, man, if there was ever a tsunami down here in the southern part of the state, it would have no problem making it way inland. There's nothing to stop that tsunami if it were to strike out here in the southern part of the state. No mountains throughout the Los Angeles, unless you get on the eastern side here, and a little mountain range right here. But otherwise, it's like a floor, for the ocean floor or the ocean water to kind of just sail on in, but into a highly populated region too. But yeah, I don't know why that popped in my head right now. It's just kind of odd. I do know there's some major systems out here. A lot of people underestimate these little ones that haven't really shown any activity in a while. But over the past few months, definitely been seeing some deeper activity here in Southern California. So something brewing, something getting ready to pop out here. I have that strange feeling. little bit of activity off of the San Jacinto fault zone to the west here. Seeing a little quake activity into the Indian reservation out here, about 18 earthquakes. Deep activity once again. Here I am talking about that deep movement. Down there around 12 kilometers, 13 kilometers deep. What's going on out there? It's just off of the San Jacinto fault zone. Now I know there's a couple different segments here, but man, getting some deep activity. There's another deep one, 14 kilometers for 2.7 there. Looks like in between these segments here of the San Jacinto fault zone, a couple different segments, but it's been pretty active in this area. What else we got? The Imperial Fault did show, there's a major plate boundary here. Does show a little bit of activity today. A couple twos kicking off here, at least a two-pointer. And some other smaller earthquakes within the vicinity of the Imperial Fault. Looking out through Arizona, New Mexico, starting to see things kind of kick up here in the western portion of Texas, up to Oklahoma as well. Getting in on some further activity out there in the, well, should I say it or should I not? I'll let you guys be the guest and read this here by the arrow. Is that big enough for you guys? Right there. There we go. Alrighty. Getting back out of here. One odd earthquake way down here around the Fowlerton, Texas area. 16-kilometer deep earthquake. 2.6. Kind of an odd deal. Of course, I know this area of Texas very famous for quite a bit of you know what out there, right? Take a look. And by the terms you know what, let's go ahead and zoom in, shall we? Shall we? Check it out, guys. Look at all those beautiful not natural, some may be natural gas out there, but oil field operations. Look at them. There's thousands upon thousands of operations out there. And it's only within a couple 100 feet of quite a few of them. So, you know, it is what it is. A little 2.6, 16 kilometers, though. That's pretty deep. A little bit deeper than what we would expect for these those natural gas or the oil and gas rigs out there. Operations, pumping operations, I should say. South Carolina did see one earthquake out there, 1.2 at about 4.9 kilometers in that area. That has been a little bit of swarming activity here. It's not within the last week. Probably got to go over the last 30 days. There we go. Over the last 30 days, seen that little swarming activity. Every once in a while, let it kick up and definitely create a little bit of swarming. I did cover this here in a prior video about the fault systems out there in the South Carolina region. Puerto Rico definitely backing out in terms of any large-scale movement. Only 12 earthquakes here to report. Do we have it? Yeah, we got one earthquake above the 2.5 threshold, a 2.7 there in the Puerto Rico area. Aside from that, most of it all microquakes. South America, Middle America Trench, somewhat quiet. Most of the activity has been confined here to the southern end of the globe or the flat scale map. You take your preference there. We did see a pretty large earthquake in the area that I've been watching. I know I've been quite a few folks mentioned that you know, a couple other people may have forecasted this, but we kind of look at areas that have not seen any pressure or release of pressure in quite a while, and this was one of them. Got to look at the plate dynamics here and look over the past 30 days and probably a little bit more than that. We've seen quite a bit of deep earthquake activity here in the Tonga Trench, the Kermadec Trench, but mostly here in this area of Fiji. This whole line of activity here is all super deep earthquakes. I'm talking down to 500-600 kilometer deep earthquake activity. So we had that region, and we had a bunch of sixes up through here, through the Vanuatu area. We had a major swarm of activity here along the southern part of the Philippine Trench. All that activity, when you think about terms of plate movement, general plate movement, Pacific plate heading this way, kind of west, northwest, and you got other areas creating a subduction zone here. It's only a matter of time, and this was kind of our hot spot here. we were expecting a larger scale earthquake here. If you watch my earthquake videos, you've been hearing me talk for a couple weeks now about something above a 5.5. We just haven't seen it along this area. And then we go ahead and kick off a 6.9. This is a little bit further south, but if you think about it, it is on the same plate boundary right there. So a little bit further south than what I was expecting in terms of major release and pressure. I heard this originally came in as a 7.3. Pretty good sized earthquake, but downgraded to a 6.9. So definitely within that area. I was kind of watching over the past couple weeks. Actually, more than the past couple weeks. But it is what it is. I try not to forecast earthquakes. I don't like that phrase. But we do look at terms of regional pressure where it's obviously building up. You know, general plate dynamics and the movement of them tend to give out an X marks the spot type of scenario. And that's definitely, I'd say it's definitely well within that region of the plate boundary that I was looking at. Let's go ahead and bounce over here to the 1 day all magnitudes again. We haven't seen any aftershock sequences here, and it's not uncommon to see that, 6.9. There was a foreshock there a couple minutes prior to the 6.9, a 5.5 within the same vicinity. Since then, we have seen, let's go ahead and pull in here a little bit, we have seen a further deep movement up north. So a little bit of adjustment, right, kind of scooting the plate to the west, northwest, and then ultimately up here, yeah, we got a little bit more room to move now and get that deeper earthquake into the Tonga Trench. So I still think in this area right here, north of this region now, you know, I still kind of talk about this area that I've been waiting on. Even though we've seen sufficient movement down south here, I still think there's that period, that this little area that we need to watch. That includes New Zealand and the Kermadec Trench for definitely above the 5.0 level, which we haven't seen too much of lately in this area. Let's see what else we got. Pretty quiet throughout the Papua New Guinea area and the Philippines. One earthquake just off the Philippine plate into the Indonesia region, a 5.1. Here goes losing my voice again. Let me grab a drink. Ah, goodness. I got to figure that out. I'm not allergic to anything. I don't have allergies. It's so weird. Hawaii, southeast region, still showing some activity. Little activity off the coast there, southern coast of Big Island, off of the Loihi Seamount. A couple small earthquakes there. No major changes to report there on the volcanoes at the Hawaii region. Western part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, one measly little earthquake here around Japan. Aside from that, things kind of tapering off here. But you got to remember, 6.9, some pretty good adjustment. When you got a little, well, I shouldn't say a little, but when you got major adjustment down here in the south part of the plate, the upper portion of the plate, probably not just sitting there lollygagging, it's probably stressing out. When you get one portion of the plate making some adjustment, no doubt it affects all the plates around it. So we got to watch that pretty closely. I still think there's some major adjustment to be had here in this little area. You can X marks the spot and pick a bullseye here in the middle. Let's see, the southern part of the Pacific Ocean, we did see a 5.8 and a 5.2. All this earthquake activity, though, was prior to the 6.9. We kind of watched this trail of activity. It started here in the South Sandwich Islands area. Then it kicked over to the South Pacific Ocean. And then wham, bam, we get that buildup, further stress buildup over here along the western portion of the Pacific, southwestern portion of the Pacific Plate. General movement, right? You got the general movement to the west. Wow. So, not seeing anything on the USGS globe, I know, or a USGS map. I know on the globe we did see it kick up. Let's go ahead and check out the EMSC model. Let me pull that up here real quick and see what we got over here. I know we've seen quite a few earthquakes on the globe, but there we go. scattered out and about. A lot of it around Italy, getting a pretty good swarm in the southern Italy area. Quite a few twos kicking up. Some activity in southern Iran as well. No major large-scale movement to report. Looks like a 3.9 largest within the region. And as you can see, nothing showing up here. In the 4.0 threshold throughout China. Pretty new earthquake of 4.9. Let's see, Alaska region. Low activity stretching out through the Aleutian Trench, and looks pretty typical right now. Don't see any unusual swarms or anything. I did skip the Pacific Northwest. Let's go ahead and cover that activity. Seen some movement out here outside of the Shady Cove, Butte Falls, Oregon area earlier. Low activity at Mount Hood. We checked that out in the last update. Nothing really showing up through Mount St. Helens or the Mount Rainier area. We'll check out the seismographs here in just a second in that region. Yellowstone National Park. Got one earthquake showing up here. Earlier this afternoon, it looks like a 1.2. Let's go see what we got cooking up here on the Yellowstone graphs. Not a whole lot at all. There is this activity. This right here, though, not... I believe that's some type of wind events. Those are not earthquakes. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise that it is. Let me see here and see what we got. I could pull up. Let's go ahead and pull up. We got time, right? We got all the time in the world. Let's go ahead and pull up one of my favorite maps. One of my favorite weather maps here. You can utilize this map so efficiently in many different scenarios, whether it's thunderstorm potential, cape values. In this aspect, we're going to check out wind gust up here. And up here around the Yellowstone area, looks like a little activity kicking up here around the 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gust. Not as strong, definitely not as strong as down here. Got some 50 mile per hour wind gusts throughout this area of the Wyoming region. But I still think this is some type of wind event. If this was earthquake activity, we would definitely be seeing it show up as earthquake activity on a different portion of the map. But this kind of looks like some type of wind event going on there. And it's not really showing up on all of the stations. If you think about it, though, if this was some type of magma movement, some type of underground activity, it would definitely show up across the park. And it looks odd. That's not any type of activity that I would consider earthquake activity. This one, yes, that's what earthquake activity looks like, localized to this seismograph station. But other than that, not seeing anything really happening across the Yellowstone region on the maps. Let's go ahead and bounce out of here. No fear and doom and gloom yet. One day it may change, all right? Hopefully not anytime soon. We don't want that happening. There's already enough crazy enough going on in the world. Massive gas prices. Somebody was talking about, and this kind of goes hand in hand with how I read all the comments, folks. Somebody is talking about they don't have time to worry about volcano eruptions or earthquakes. Worried about how they're going to fill up their next gas tank, right? Their next full tank of gas, to make it to work or to go pick up the kids from school. Gas is outrageous right now. Here where I live in Northern California, the cheapest gas, $6.29 a gallon. $6.29, folks. I'm kind of curious. Let me know in the comments below what your gas price is and where you're located. Somebody mentioned that we're expecting to see a $6 national average, which would put us here in California around $8 a gallon. I don't know, but I'm probably not going to. Well, a lot of people know I drive a Tahoe. It's a big car, right? Is it my fault? I guess, but I'm not really into the electric cars. I'm not going to downgrade my vehicle. I love my Tahoe. So I have to fork out the money for it to fill it up. I'm definitely driving it less. But anyway, let me know what your gas price is where you live in the comments below in this video. And I'm kind of curious. I'd like to know, so I can understand the worry about filling up your gas tank. But if we have a major earthquake out here, that's only going to make things worse. So we definitely don't want that as well. Let's see what else we got. Trimmer map into the Cascadia tonight, kind of tapering off a little bit. Still getting some movement down here into Northern California. That would explain the activity we're seeing here into the Northern California region with that deep earthquake activity into the southern end of the Cascadia. That's going to be the 2.0 at 39 kilometers. You can see there quite a bit of movement, tremor activity down there, way down there, around 35, 45 kilometers into the subduction zone. So no doubt a little activity showing up on the M energy scale in the 2.0 threshold, creating some of that earthquake activity within that region. A little bit of movement outside of Olympia as well. These are all tremors. Checking out the Mount St. Helens volcanic activity. See what we got cooking out here. Cooking right at the volcano. Last earthquake was on the 13th. Good 6 days ago. Let's see what we got, folks. I'm going to let you guys be the judge. What do you guys see? Did you guys see that? Let's go back throughout the afternoon time frame and the morning period with the UTC, previous UTC day, but still our day, at least as far as the civilized world goes. There's a little bit of activity there. Look at the S wave kicking up here. That is from the 6.9 earthquake that struck out there well south of New Zealand way earlier this morning, way early. But there's definitely earthquake activity. You guys see that? So, no doubt, movement. Why they're not reporting? Well, guess what? I'm going to send these guys an email directly after this update video. Most of the seismologists and the scientists that I email are very quick to get back to me. And I do appreciate it. There's actually quite a few people from the USGS, believe it or not, that do monitor this channel and watch the channel. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm using their data, and I try not to do fear mongering. I'm not going to say this is lava movement, because that's obviously not. I know how to, really know how to read a seismograph reading, and that's a really distinct earthquake. No magma. Magma would be drawn out and sporadic in a width, so to speak, as far as the reading on the seismograph. So definitely nothing volcanic going on here at Mount St. Helens. Let's go ahead and check out the, and we can check out the spectrograms and go into all that stuff and the frequencies, but I'm not going to do that right now. Let's check out Mount Hood, where we did see a little activity earlier, a little spotty microquake. I'm going to check out the seismograph station here. Pretty easy to read, folks. And that is just crazy all over the place. Let's see what we got. Hello, McFly. There we go. This signal always kicks up. This here looks like some type of who knows what. It could be not tractor, some type of steady generator. It just kind of popped in my head. Maybe that's what it is. But this was magma or anything volcanic. It wouldn't be steady as she goes at all. That would be it would definitely be kind of wavy or different. But this signal right here, it seems like always around this time in the morning or afternoon time frame, it kind of kicks up. Okay, but earthquake activity, it looks like a little couple small ones here. That's what we look for in earthquake activity. Those type of signals right here. I know they're kind of hard to see, but that's it. And there's not a whole lot of them right now. Space weather. Let's go ahead and check this out here real quick on the SolarHam site. Of course, we did see an M5.6 early this morning there from 3017, I believe. Going to be this baby right here into the upper M flare category. Let's see where that was from. 3017. There was the flare. Pretty nice screen capture. Earth directed. There was not a sufficient CME that was produced. But man, this thing is getting 3017's here. 3014 is looking pretty dynamic. There is intermixing here, but man, these things they're strengthening. They're definitely strengthening. If you look at the visible solar disk, you can see well-defined sunspots. 3017, it's there, but I guess it just had enough intermixing there to produce a pretty good size M flare earlier this morning. But I still think this one right here, Earth directed, bullseye shot, has a pretty good significant chance of producing something stronger. So I think it may be just waiting to get into position and then kind of give us that home run slam. But we'll see how it goes. Still 15% chance of an X flare. Let's see what these guys are predicting, or at least forecasting. Kind of similar to what I'm talking about, 3014 there. Highest level of probability when it comes to solar flares. Looks like 15% chance for an X flare, 40% chance of an M flare, and 99% chance of a C flare. Man, my nose is so weird. It's hard to talk when your nose just all of a sudden plugs up out of the blue. It's perfectly clear, and I start talking here for 20, 30 minutes, and it just plugs up. It's completely weird, folks, let me tell you. I really haven't felt the same since since me and Missy Mimi's and the whole family here caught that the COVID-19 deal quite a few months back. It's really odd. I don't know if anybody else has that same issue going on, but it seems like my immune system has been compromised or something. It is what it is, so we'll continue to eat oranges and drink some carrot juice, and of course drink our coffee. Let's see what else we got, guys. Okay, geomagnetic forecast looks like possibly later tonight, 3 to 4 range. Not at that level yet. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. Days after the 20th look green across the board, but of course all subject to change. Depending on if we get a massive CME headed our way or a major flare. Right now, things kind of on the boring side, but don't let that put you too far in the comfort zone, because things can change in a blink of an eye. A little bit of density uplift here over the last few hours. Things pretty stable on the BT and BZ zone. Speeds kind of elevating here, but nothing significant. Same with the temp. But we'll see how it plays out. Definitely see how it plays out. Where did my... hold on a second here. Wanted to check out the New Madrid zone. I know that there's nothing being reported here, but I'm going to start checking this area for verification and see if there's any activity kicking up here. Not earthquake activity. Again, that could be wind. These things are pretty sensitive when it comes to wind activity. And even then, this activity doesn't look earthquake related either. It's a pretty good map. Not showing anything specifically popping up there. We know what to look for in terms of earthquake activity. That is not earthquake activity. That is not volcanic activity. If that was volcanic activity, there's no doubt this would be showing up localized throughout the entire region. And a lot of that is at different timestamps. So that's just general interference. What the interference is, who knows? But definitely not showing up on that station as well. Let's see what else we got. This one might be showing a couple earthquakes here. Those kind of look like that. See, that's what earthquake activity looks like. That's what we look for. A couple earthquakes down there around the New Madrid zone. Let me see what we got. Southern end, it looks like. And then again, it's hard. It's definitely hard to say. If there's anything sufficient, it would be showing up all across these seismographs. It's a very localized area here, not a considerable distance in terms of between each station. So hard to say. Location though, right? What do we got out here in Texas? Looks pretty clear. Eastern part of the coast, or eastern part of the country, I should say. There's that activity again. It kind of just looks like some interference kicking off. All right, folks, I am going to bounce out of here. I did not mean to make it so long, but it is what it is. We shot over the 30-minute mark tonight. Woohoo! All right, guys, we're going to bounce out of here. And live stream is up and running. I am having a little intermittent errors with the live seismographs over here. Sometimes it happens, but just know that they do come back, and they tend to disappear for a little bit, and then they do come back again. But not for sure what's going on. It could just be the network error. But I am watching it. If it doesn't fix itself here by tomorrow, then I'll go ahead and do a reset on this program. But it does come up. It does, provide the data here after a short period of some pausing. Let's see what else we got. 3.1 into the Philippine plate again, right around that swarming area. Looks like. You guys see that? Starting to kick up in the swarming region again. All right, guys, have a great night. We will chat you guys a little bit later on. Stay safe, everyone. Peace out.